What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, Nintendo and Pokemon dropped their latest game, Pokemon Champions, and it has not gone over well, with all kinds of issues and backlash hitting them. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about an event that's now seems to be rumored and starting to set up for next week. This coming to us, though, from Sony, but what kind of state of play maybe could we be expecting here? And we have another game that's been delayed for the Switch 2 that seems to be bringing up concerns around kind of what we were seeing with the Switch 1 now being brought over to Nintendo's newest system. All that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we have a weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, going over the world of gaming news, trying to keep you up to date. So just know, if you don't get a notification in the morning, there's probably still a video here to check out. And we're going to start today with Xbox and an update for achievements, which is something I'd like to see more for, like seeing just more innovation or even, I don't know, just any new ideas around achievements or trophies. Here, though, we can see this is over on the news.xbox.com site, and this is right now out for select Xbox insiders so they can test all these improvements, and then it'll be rolling out to basically everyone later on as we go along. So they have a visual refresh for achievements. So when you pop an achievement, it does look a bit different as they have an image kind of showcasing that here. You can hide games from your achievement list. So let's say you have one game you played for an hour and you're like, I don't really like this. Then you stop playing it and you realize, oh, I unlocked 2 achievements for 15 gamer score, and it just doesn't look great when you scroll through it. You can go ahead and hide those if you want. And then you can also highlight your 100% completed game. So when you go through, it'll already kind of be shown there and it'll look a little different. So you can, of course, then show off the ones that you did the full 1,000 out of 1,000 or what have you. So again, I like the idea of trying to just build on achievements, come up with new ideas for them, because it feels like we've been pretty stagnant outright with achievements and trophies, so maybe just more ideas could happen as we go along. Also, we had a bit of a surprise last night as a listing went live for Elden Ring Tarnished Edition. This is for the Switch 2, and it was already supposed to, I guess, be out, but it got delayed into 2026, and the pricing we can see is $80 right now over on Amazon, and yes, it is also a game key card. So people, of course, saw this price point, immediate recoil, saw the game key card, recoil further. But a few things with this, just to note, it's the same price on other platforms because it does have Shadow of the Erdtree that is part of this bundle. The obvious issue being, hey, it's an $80 game key card. To me, though, the other issue is, though, on other platforms, you can just buy the base Elden Ring game for cheaper, and from there, you can decide if it is something you want to go further with, because I do think for the most part, you're going to know pretty quickly if Elden Ring is a game you even want to stick with. And maybe even after you put a few hours into it, you might go, I don't know. Shadow of the Erdtree, you have to get pretty far, I'd say, even into Elden Ring before you can even start all of that, and that's an entirely new experience. Is there a lot of value there even at $80? Yes, I spent like 150 hours total in Erdtree and Elden Ring, so that's obviously worth a lot compared to the $80 you put out, but $80 game key card, it looks weird when you put that together. Still, though, it's coming out at some point. I'm expecting, since it's already listed, to get that announcement any time now with the official release date, but for me, I'm ready to just see what's going on with the Duskblood, so we just got to get this game out there so we can move on to something brand new for FromSoft to release, apparently later on this year. Oh, and it looks like we may have had the Halo Campaign Evolve release date leak out early, and technically release dates because there is early access for this one, and we can see this is over on GameSpot. They are citing Grunt.api, who usually has some back-end knowledge when it comes to like data mining and stuff, and they put up some equations here, but basically it ends up coming out to July 23rd for EA or early access, and then July 28th for official release or OR. And yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was going to be coming out over the summer. There's still a lot of stuff that Microsoft is setting up towards the end of the year. Call of Duty, the Gears E-Day, Fable, and then, you know, I mean, with all of that in mind, you still have GTA 6 to look out for. So I figured Halo Campaign Evolved would be out probably sometime throughout the summer, and the latest may have been August. So there we go, looking towards the end of July, and I assume they're going to make this announcement during their big June showcase. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Pokemon Champions, because it's out now, and it's a free-to-play game, so we'll start there. There is very low risk involved here. if you just want to try it out. It released on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. The mobile version is coming later on sometime in the summer. I've seen June get kicked around. I think there were just some listings that had popped up online at one point, but either way, it is out on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. I did download this, just check it out, because I figured we would be covering it here at some point, and here we are now. So let's start from the top with this one, because there are many issues that now people are realizing. First thing I realized when I turned it on, it doesn't look very good. Like, the visuals don't match up to what you'd expect for, say, the Switch 2, but also it's running at 30 FPS on the Switch 2, another strange thing. And then to go even beyond that, people started noticing there's a weird docking issue, as in if you turn the game on when it's docked, like just launch it outright while it's docked to start, it doesn't have the correct resolution being displayed. It's like half resolution. So what you have to do is you have to pop the Switch 2 out of the dock, drop it back into the dock, just kind of reset the docking status there, and then it will all of a sudden kick over to the correct resolution for it being docked. So some people may not realize this, have been playing it docked the whole time. You're actually looking at it like this half resolution scale. Very, very weird stuff here. But either way, once you get into the game, all right, so people are looking at this thinking, oh, this is a very competitive Pokemon battling game, and I think people are coming out of this realizing, oh, it's actually quite casualized. And yeah, I mean, as you're going through, so it's 3-on-3 battles. I think people are expecting 6-on-6. You do pick 6 Pokemon, but generally you then choose from that pool when you're actually going into battle, say, online. Monetization's tied to a lot. It is free to start, but there's a lot of additional currencies. I noticed there's cooldowns being introduced pretty consistently, and you can use tickets to speed that up. There is a premium battle pass, but it's mixed in with the free battle pass, as in, as you're going through and unlocking things, every other one is a premium reward that you would need to get the premium battle pass to then unlock. There are mountains of cosmetics, but what I noticed, a lot of the cosmetics are just different colors. So it's like the same jacket, but it's red, and then it's blue, and then it's green, and like that's kind of it. You spend money, or not, you spend the digital currency, we'll say, that you get for money if you want, on that. And you can of course play the game and earn a lot of this stuff, but it's a lot of drip feeding when it comes to the money that you're getting versus how much a basic color swap for a cosmetic is. I think the most alarming thing, though, is while this is compatible with Pokemon Home, so you can transfer Pokemon from some of the other games that you've been spending time raising these Pokemon up with, the issue, it seems to be that there is some kind of glitch or something happening to where your Pokemon will get caught up in limbo. And many people have been sharing this, like this, for example, and this was posted by Justin, saying that there's a massive bug with transferring Pokemon between Pokemon Home and Champions, where an error displays when attempting to send home Mons to Champs. And from there, those Pokemon can no longer be moved to Champs, traded in Home, or moved back to, say, Scarlet and Violet. They're basically trapped in limbo. And this was blowing up online because, I mean, you don't want to lose your Pokemon, obviously, from just transferring from Home. So now the thing, people are like, oh, I guess I'm just not going to transfer until someone can confirm that that's been fixed. Basically, this game needs a lot of work, and I mean, it's not on mobile devices yet, so you can almost, are they treating this like a beta release? Like, hey, we're putting this out there, and we'll just get feedback as we go along. I guess it's just, it's not a very good release in that sense, because doesn't seem like it's ready to go. So it's live service. It's something that they'll be working on as we go along. But let me know your thoughts so far on Pokemon Champions, because I've been surprised before with the Pokemon Company and Nintendo when they release something like, say, Scarlet and Violet and the condition that was in, or when Legend ZA shows up in the building, it's just all images instead of 3D models for, say, balconies. Here, though, this just feels kind of like an unfinished, unpolished game that they pushed out. Next up, let's talk about a state of play seems to be setting up for next week. I say seems because it is currently unconfirmed with the date and even the expectation that one will happen, but it kind of, to me, looks like we're going to get something next week one way or the other. And this was shared by Nate. We can see this. This is over on his X account, saying, since it's gained unexpected attention and traction, I'll share the unconfirmed date that I've heard for the next potential state of play, April 16th, emphasis on unconfirmed, and he goes on to answer a few questions saying that sounds more third-party focused, but not 100% certain. And Nate also mentioned, and this was already kind of being discussed before, that Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, that is set for a reveal that day, April 16th. So you start to put those pieces together, and maybe a few other games that aren't out there yet that are also lining up for press releases, other things being pushed on April 16th. It's like, okay, yeah, some sort of event, a state of play would make sense for these different companies to come together for. And so there we are. We're looking towards, at the very least, next week, because again, you also have time zone differences and stuff. So I'm just thinking, all right, sometime next week, a state of play with Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, something we've heard about constantly. It's like the worst kept secret. And then eventually Ubisoft just decided, you know what, we'll just tell them about it and show them a piece of key art for this thing. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing this Black Flag remake and what they have for us there. And then I guess at that time, it's like, okay, what would Sony set up maybe for a third-party state of play? And with that in mind, it's like, well, I guess we won't have to worry about first party with a final push, say, for Sorrows, or even them mentioning a Wolverine dedicated state of play, which I do think is the next real big step for Sony in terms of first party, a Wolverine specific state of play. And that could happen at the end of this month or even in May, because they said, hey, sometime in spring, you're going to see more about this thing. All right. So maybe we'll look towards that in the next few weeks. Remember that Devil May Cry 6 rumor was going around? That'd be pretty cool to see a new Devil May Cry game, just because why not? Capcom's going crazy right now. You may as well throw Devil May Cry in the mix right now. Ace Combat 8, that still needs a release date. We've seen it mentioned 2026. Seems like it's a good time to get a release date out there. Persona 4 Revival, the new Persona 4 game. There was some talk about how there was a page that went up for it and then it got pulled down. So maybe something there. And then Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition also got rated and apparently is coming out in June. So you feel like they want to get that announced at some point. And, you know, I'm going back to Capcom again. Why not? Onimusha, need a release date on that one. So I don't know. It's going to be fun to see what we have in store for us next week, one way or the other. Even if it's just Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, I'm excited to see that one. But really, in general, I'm curious to see what Sony would set up in April when you feel like they're also going to do a state of play that's at least somewhat sizable in June around that E3, not E3 time, like they typically do. And then you also have third parties holding maybe for Summer Game Fest. So a lot of stuff starting to pick up here as we head into the summer. Next up, let's talk about Forza Horizon 6, as previews did go live yesterday. And I mean, I'm expecting a very, very good game out of Playground for this one because they're finally going to Japan. And didn't disappoint, at least with the previews. Now, I will say a few things about these previews. Seems like it was fairly limited in the amount of stuff that they had for the different outlets to go through, but they did open up the world itself to just kind of drive around and explore and just see the scenery there. I mean, again, it's Japan that they've brought in here for this whole thing, and it seems like, at least in that regard, they did really, really well with representing Japan. So that is awesome, but we can see some of it here. This is from GameSpot, who did an entire preview, and again, there are many of them out there, and this seemed to be all played on the Xbox Series X in quality mode, so it is 30 FPS for all the capturing that was done here, and I guess it's because they want it to look as nice as possible. All right, print a performance, you can of course then have lesser visuals, or if you go on PC, you can have glitches and stuff. Keep it, I guess, very controlled here with that, at least that outing with the Series X 30 FPS. And the opening it's Forza Horizon as we figure, big bunch of climactic scenes that come together and show off different areas and cars. And the thing I like about this from the different previews that I've mentioned, you do build up from the bottom. So it is that rags to riches story. You start out with some basic, almost junker cars, you know, like you're not rolling in with a supercar hour one. Seems like something you will be building up over time. They have the wristband system back, and you'll start off with some lower end cars, and then slowly over several hours build and build and build until you get that first like supercar. And I think that's going to be awesome. It will, at least I think, give a lot more satisfaction to unlocking some of these cars. as opposed to how you do now where you spin a wheel and sometimes you land on a Ferrari and there you go, half an hour in, you're driving around at 200 miles an hour. Also a lot of emphasis on very diverse settings, so driving through cities, then out into the countryside, and then they had snow, and you have cherry blossoms all over the place. So it looks awesome in motion from what they were showing here. I feel like this is going to be a game that looks incredible on a really nice OLED display, and we're about a month and a half away. It's coming out May 19th, but there is going to be that early access period, and I'm looking forward to it. The racing games, while a lot of them are becoming, they do tend to look very similar now because I think we've, in terms of visuals for cars, it feels like we've kind of peaked at this point, but Forza Horizon is so interesting because it's this massive open world that you can drive around, roll through fields if you want, destruction everywhere, or treat it like almost a track simulator, staying on the roads or on the tracks and not causing a bunch of destruction. But it's a lot of fun. The RPG elements added in, it'll be a good time, and I'm looking forward to when it releases next month, May 19th. And I think it's going to score very high, and it once again will be overlooked for Game of the Year nominations at the end of the year. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about 007 First Light and how it's been delayed for the Switch 2 versus the other versions of the game. We can see this. This is over on X where they made this post saying 007 First Light comes to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, S, and PC on May 27th, 2026, and Nintendo Switch 2 later this summer. We're excited to see players discovering James Bond's reimagined origin story, and we are looking forward to bringing you the best game experience possible across all platforms. This didn't go over well because up until this point, it was looking like the Switch 2 version was going to come out same time as the others, and it looks like they need more time to polish the Switch 2 version, which, we saw it struggling in that gameplay that they showed a while back in like the airport, and things were blowing up everywhere, and frame rate was not looking great even on, say, the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5 or anything like that. So the questions came about the Switch 2 version as well. So I guess it's not surprising necessarily that they need more time with that system, but it is obviously disappointing for people who are looking towards, I'll get it on the Switch 2 when it releases. Kind of concerning that, is this going to be a thing we see more and more as we go along? Borderlands 4 went through the same situation, except that was basically canceled at this time. Okay, I guess 007 here's hoping it comes out sooner rather than later throughout the summer, maybe like a July or August at the latest for that one. We also have a PlayStation 5 controller that was revealed. This over on PlayStation blog, and it looks nice. I don't need more DualSense controllers. I don't. It's gold. It has the 007 logo directly in the middle, has like kind of that light burst coming out of it. So it's like a nice sun there. And then on the back, it has First Light, and it says earn the number. Man. If I didn't have so many DualSense controllers, and this would probably be one that I would pick up. I need to see how it looks in person too, though, because it's just a good looking controller, I think anyway. Let me know what you think about the gold 007 DualSense controller. I'm looking forward to the game coming out at the end of May. So again, a lot of games starting to pile up here, but I am kind of disappointed because I was curious to see how this would go over on the Switch 2, as it's still very interesting to see some of these third-party games that people still consider looking at as maybe too big for the Switch 2, how it fares on that hardware with that newer Tegra chipset. But I guess we're going to have to wait a bit longer. Otherwise, look towards 007 First Light, end of May, on the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, and PC later on this summer for the Switch 2. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, have you played the original Halo campaign? 66% chose correctly and said yes. 34% said no. Here's the thing, okay? So I know, look, it's an older game. All right, it's going to be Halo, the original Halo is going to be 25 years old at the end of this year. That's old, all right? And I know it's been remade, and it's in the Master Chief Collection and stuff, but still, there's gonna be a lot of people who, they weren't there, right place, right time, when that was like super, super hot with the Halo campaign. But you get another shot at it, okay? And I'm gonna be curious to see how all this works out, because that is an awesome campaign, and I'm hoping they do right by it. But as I mentioned, the Halo Studios, there's so much skepticism around 343, now Halo Studios. They just have a lot to prove. So I'm hoping it works out well. It's a very, very good reimagining of the Halo 1 campaign. I'm hoping the prequel missions that they're adding in add a lot to the story and the lore that is good and works in favor of it, because I think the only way they're really going to fix Halo, they're rebooting it again, and maybe this is part of it. And that's just kind of it. So lots riding on this one. I'm hoping it's good, and I'm hoping I can just recommend it to everyone because it's an awesome campaign, and I would like people to get even a newer version of it that they can go through here this summer. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Relp, who says, I agree with him, that being, Strauss Zelnick, if he's being honest about his opinion. Working in HVAC showed me just how important the proper tool can be. It can turn an hour-long job into a 5-minute job. AI can be that tool alongside a talented human. I can't just throw a blowtorch, solder some flux at some copper and hope the job gets done. You need a trained tech working with those tools. Yeah, so the thing with AI, all right, like there are people who are like really hardline AI, like they don't, none of it, but AI is a genuinely useful tool if it's used just as a tool and not a replacement. And I think that's kind of the hang up right now for people. Like, so I think about it how when I was coming up through middle school, you were not allowed to use a calculator. It's like you use a calculator, that's considered cheating because you need to learn how to do all this stuff, right? Through elementary school, middle school, it's like you gotta learn how to do long division, full multiplication, like all this stuff, right? And then you get in high school and they go, okay, everybody gets a calculator because you already know how to do all that stuff. So we're going to work on all this other craziness with trigonometry and calculus and stuff. So the calculators are there to get you there faster. That's kind of how I look at AI. It's, as long as you know how to do a lot of the stuff already, AI can come in and speed you up. My only concern would be 10, 15, 20 years from now, for people who have gone through all of schooling with AI, what does that do for their general problem-solving ability when they turn to AI for everything and you become completely dependent on it? Those are the questions I think people need to really think about, as opposed to just no AI ever. It's like, well, in that case, you might get kind of left behind in the competitive field with AI being used more and more. Again, not really as a replacement that I'm seeing, but definitely as kind of an assistant. Or yeah, a calculator when you get into high school. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanna check out the latest episode of the Spawncast, where we go through and just talk back and forth about all kinds of stuff that's happened the last week or so in gaming. I'll leave that right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.